got to recover. Mr. Jason started making me kind of tear up a little bit. Hello, my name is Colvin, and before I would start, I would like to just acknowledge that I know this is a very controversial topic, and if you have read my title, you might have already closed your mind off a little bit. I would just encourage you to open up your mind, open up your heart, and just really take in my arguments and my refutes and my personal beliefs. I want you to imagine this. A woman and a man having an equal chance to run the country. A woman being put in leadership roles such as president, pastoral roles, and deacons. A place where women are studied in the medical field, and a place where women are getting the right diagnosis. A place where fewer women are getting harassed in the streets or in their private of their homes. And the women who do are believed and not questioned. A place where women are treated as people, not only as a mother or a wife or a daughter, but just as a person. Feminism was created or started in the 1800s. It was created because women realized that they were not given the same rights as men. Whether it was they were not able to vote, they were not able to get an education, they were not able to get a job, open a bank statement, or own a home. The importance with this is the definition, mostly, of today's day and age. Society today has twisted the definition of it. People have seen feminism as a definition of women are better than men, and that is simply not the case. Emma Watson, a very famous actor and an activist for feminism, has said, "This isn't just girls are better than boys, boys are better than girls. This is just everyone deserves a fair chance." Now, if that's how Emma Watson describes it, how does the actual dictionary describe it as? The Oxford Dictionary describes it as the advocacy of women's right on the basis of equality of the sexes. Now, equality does not mean one is better than the other. It means equal. Now, the term female chauvinism is actually what it means for women to think that they are better than men. There's also male chauvinism, where male thinks that they are better than the females. And this is affecting every woman. This isn't affecting just certain groups of people or certain countries. This is affecting every woman from their day-to-day lives, whether you know it or not. Now, if this is such an important topic, what do people say about this? Well, people say that we should do nothing because it's not important. It's not happening today, so just do nothing. Stand back and do nothing. Some people will see it as a problem, yet do nothing, either because of because they are too scared to do anything, fear of judgment, or even violence. I believe that American society should treat women and men the same in value and occupational capabilities. My first reason for this is healthcare discriminates against women. When you first hear this, it might feel very direct. It might feel very radical. Well, it's true. Now, when I talk about medical or the healthcare system, I'm not talking about yearly checkups or things that you go to the doctor for a flu or a fever or cold. I'm talking about things that you go to the hospital for that you see as very life-threatening, or a heart attack, or anything brain-related. Women are not being studied as much as they should today. Women historically have not been studied. It's mostly been the men. And whenever they have been studied, Dr. Nadit Winger has described women being studied as the bikini method. It has meaning that scientists and doctors have only studied the breast and the reproductive systems. Everything else has been simply given to chance. And then did you know 70% of chronic pain patients are women? Well, 80% of those painkiller studies are done on male mice, not even female mice. And in 2016, the NIH made a rule to not only use male mice on painkillers, which is great, but that was only 10 years ago. You would think that would have been longer ago. And same with chronic pain patients. Most chronic illness patients are also women, and this includes Alzheimer's, depression, and arthritis. And now with depression and arthritis, that their medication has been studied on both gender mice. Both Alzheimer's, it has only been done on male mice. My second point is probably my most controversial. It is leadership. I believe that women are capable leaders. Many Christians and some non-Christians don't agree with me on this. Many Christians will bring up 1 Timothy 2:12, which says, do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man. She must be quiet. Now, Paul was writing this to Timothy, and Paul was writing this to Timothy about a church in Ephesus, which Ephesus was popularly known for building temples to goddesses, and these preachers for this false religion were women. And many of these women were not allowing men to preach in these temples. So what Paul was saying wasn't not just discriminating against women in the church and being able to be a pastor. It was saying that men or that women should not only preach false gospels, but not also to usurp a power under a man, to not even let a man be a pastor in that specific time. Christians also bring up 1 Corinthians 14:34-35, which says, women should remain silent in churches. They are not allowed to speak and must remain in submission, as the law says. If they want to inquire about something, they should ask their husbands or at home, for it is disgraceful. Brittany Rusk, a Bible theologian and pastor herself, says that the word speak in this verse is the same word in Greek when talking about speaking in tongues. And in this chapter or section, it was talking about order in worship. It was talking about more than one person talking over one another. So you can conclude that talking about this was that multiple women were talking over the pastor, talking over worship, and asking multiple questions over one another. Not saying that women just shouldn't speak at all during churches. That would also exclude women from singing or being head of worship, which our church commonly has. And then Paul also praises many women in the Bible. In Romans 16:1, he praises Phoebe as being a deacon of her church. In Romans 16:7, he praises Junia for being an apostle, a teacher. So if this is also not only about pastors, what about presidents? Well, with presidents, I have a very prominent example, Finland. Finland has been voted the happiest country with 7 years in a row. And guess what their government is mostly made out of? Women. Castania Mani wrote an article about women being the reason why women are driving this country to be the happiest. She puts, under the leadership of Sanna Marin, which was the prime minister at this time, also a woman, Finland's coalition government successfully implemented key policies that contributed to Finland's ranking as the happiest country in the world for 6 consecutive years. Finland also has a great school system. The school system has ultimately given less homework. It gives kids time to be themselves, to go outside, and give time to do the things that they actually want. Castania Mani also put in that article, they prioritize the support of families with the creation of the Universal Child Care and Education Policy, which includes the National Child Care Act and was first implemented in 2020 by ensuring access to high-quality early education for every child. Meaning, every one of these rules, laws, or regulations was implemented by women in their government. So that's with occupational capabilities. I'm going to move back to value. Now, with value, this comes safety. Law enforcement minimizes women's safety. Did you know 1 in 5 women experience completed or attempted rape, while 1 in 3 women experience attempted or complete rape between the ages of 11 and 17? Since 1999, 17.7 million American women have experienced completed or attempted rape. While women are statistically the most on the recipient side of this, men are the ones mostly doing it. Specifically, 93.6% of sexual abuse cases were done by men. Fiona Vera Gray, an activist, campaigner, researcher on women's safety, she wrote a book. In this book, she said, "Do not want to think of ourselves as constantly on guard, scanning our environment, scared. We'd proudly proclaim a woman should be able to walk anywhere, wear anything, be anyone, without fear of violence. And we'd mean it. I mean, we should, right? We should, but we don't. Not really. Less than 5% of sexual assaults get reported, while 1 in 5 of those reports are deemed baseless by police. Why don't we report? Well, Rachel Den Hollander, a very famous lawyer against the Larry Nassar case and a victim of herself. Larry Nassar was a predator in women's gymnastics. She wrote a book called What is a Girl's Worth? And in this book, she said, "Why don't victims report? Because most of the time, the only thing reporting accomplishes is heightening the trauma to almost unbearable levels. It invites an audience to view your sexual assault. It chooses to have no voice in the process of having it stolen it from you." Murphy Oken, a social worker and academic specializing in sexual violence, also put Romans cite numerous reasons for lack of reporting to police, including shame, not wanting to get in trouble, fear of violence, or fear of disbelief from law enforcement, and the use of substance at the time of the assault. Police are the one thing that is supposed to protect us, not the one discouraging us to report these lawless acts. Rachel Den Hollander also puts in her book, "But as survivors of sexual assault will tell you, saying something is one thing, being heard and believed is another." So those are my points. What do other people say about this? Well, with the medical and healthcare one, people argue that women don't need to be studied. It's too expensive, it's a time waster, and too much effort. Women have different variables, whether it's they have a menstrual cycle between around the ages of 13 to 50. Above the ages of 50, they have menopause. Man, not so much. The difference between one man and another could be very slim to almost nothing. Oh, the difference between one woman to another is very large. The problem with not studying with female body is that 93% of women feel dismissed when at the doctors. Trackman wrote an article about a 2018 study. She puts, "This study reported that more than half of the women who went to the hospital with a heart attack reported that their healthcare provider didn't see their symptoms as heart-related, compared with less than 4 out of 10 men, meaning 6 of those 10 men didn't have the same symptoms as those women did, but 4 of them did, meaning since they weren't the majority of the symptoms, they weren't believed. And since they're more likely to get misdiagnosis because of this, specifically 66.1% more likely to get a misdiagnosis, they are more likely to die or get permanently injured. Around 800,000 people die from a misdiagnosis or get permanently injured yearly. So if that's medical, what about leadership? Well, people argue that women shouldn't lead. People argue that and I agree, not everyone should lead. I do agree, though, that women should lead. Not every woman, don't get me wrong. Does every woman need to lead? No. Does every man need to lead? Also, no. The Bible does not disqualify women to lead. As I've mentioned previously, they bring up 1 Timothy 2:12 or 1 Corinthians. Well, some of them also bring up 1 Timothy 3:1-7. Which describes a good leader, and only uses male pronouns in the English. In Greek, the male pronoun is not used once. Paul uses if anyone also. If he's discriminating against women not being able to preach, why would he use the term if anyone? Why not use if any man or if any male? James Perk, a pastor and college minister, wrote, "He seems to have intentionally left out the masculine pronoun for the express purpose of making it clear that women are eligible to serve as elders too." Paul also wrote faithful to one wife. Now this time he's only saying this to men, because at the time men were having more than one wife. Women couldn't really have more than one husband. Sorry. Douglas Moo, a New Testament scholar and theologian, acknowledges that this phrase does not include unmarried men or females from the office. It would be going too far to argue that this phrase clearly excludes women. Perk also says, considering his first century context, Paul is most likely excluding polygamists. John Chrysostom, a church father, understood this text as, this he does not lay down as a rule, as if an overseer must not be without a wife, but as prohibiting his having more than one. With safety, people argue that sexual harassment happens to boys and not only to girls, which is 100% true. What I'm about to say is not undermining the problem with sexual abuse with boys. This is an awareness for the girls who statistically experience sexual harassment more than guys do. Now, we should believe the men who have come forward about sexual harassment, but 1 in 10 rape victims are men. 1 in 33 men have experienced attempted or complete rape, while 1 in 5 women have experienced attempted or complete rape. 20% of women have experienced sexual harassment, while 3% of men have experienced sexual harassment. These numbers are the ones who have come forward. These numbers could be higher. And as I said before, we should believe the men who have come forward. But as this paper states, this is talking about awareness for the girls who statistically experience sexual harassment more. To conclude, I believe that American society should treat men and women equal in value and occupational capabilities. Women should be taken seriously in the medical field. Women leaders can be women, whether it's in government or pastoral roles. Law enforcement needs to take sexual harassment cases seriously and not dismiss the women who come forward. The problem is not small or insignificant as it may seem. This affects many women and girls. This issue affects lives. How girls see and live the world, how women have to change little but significant things in their life, from routines, what they wear, or even some interests they might have. So if it's such an important issue, what should people do? People should do something. Do anything. Talk about it with friends and family. Protest. Speak up. People can also be more open to a female leader. Do not just do anything. Having a voice is the strongest power people have. Use it. It's what we had in the 1800s. Use it now. Do not be scared of what people will think. People may think it's radical. Let them. Because women voting in 1920 was seen as radical. Thank you.